So Kabbalah's Rechilas. All right, right. Okay. So because Yevoyer, Isa Kabbalah's Rechilas, he's going to discuss the Isa accepting Rechilas and Nemra B'fnei Shloisha by B'fanav. In a case where the Rechilas was said either in front of three people or in front of that person it's said about, we did Im Hayalai Hezek L'Kol Yoitza Be'er Shugarm LaHezek Zeh. Well, I'm in the case where I had a damage and there's a cold.
Second, Rabbi,
Cold
your
is,
camera's not on. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that.
Sorry.
Now it's going to be on. I mean, I saw I'm not there, but I didn't do the math. It's just okay. Sorry. Thank you for pointing it out. So I have a damage. My window's broken, right? And in the city, they're all pointing their finger. There's a call going around that so and so did it. Oh, Shechatzipalo Fitumo was there. Oh, someone the Fitumo, right? The Fitumo. I guess I'll define it again, but basically it's when he doesn't intend to give you any information. He just happens to recount something, and from that story, it comes up. Or if the person telling you has this nemonis that you trust him, just like two Eidim, which I pratim dine rechilas abay yutzif. Okay, so discuss all these as per the Issa of being Makabal rechilas. Do any of these situations affect that Issa? So Aleph, also the Kabal rechilas, afilam asapa sibus adavar bepirsum. Even if the person saying over the rechilas said it publicly, Ruvain said about you, such and such, about Jim and such and such. He said it publicly. If they come on us, it's in front of many people. I feel that's not a basis to decide that what the guy is saying is true. Again, you could be choshesh. Again, I think that's only if it's litoeles. If it's something that can have, and it pertains to you for the future to protect yourself, then you're allowed to be choshesh, just like any other case of rechilas or lashon hara. But otherwise, you're not allowed to believe it just because it was said out publicly. Well, someone may argue and say, well, if the guy said it publicly, obviously, the answer is either yes or no, but you're not allowed to believe it. The shem shebayanu leil and sif beis rather. Shem shebayanu leil bechelik aleph. Hilchos lashon hara because zayin sif beis the lashon hara also the kalba min adin. Afilim sipo love b'fanav. You're not allowed to be makabel the lashon hara even if the person saying the lashon hara says it in front of the person he's discussing. And for that matter, that person doesn't even respond. Kana din b'rechilis, dahainu. Shama lo b'fanav. If it say he says to the guy's face, he says to Ruvain's face, "Atot dibarta lov kapakar." He says, "Ruvain, you said such and such a thing about Shimon." Even if Ruvain doesn't respond, doesn't deny it, the shosh people of a rechilas b'fanav. Gam can also the kalva. You're still not allowed to believe it. And you can't use it as any type of proof from his lack of response that it's true. Even if this is a person who's usually a hothead, he responds when people make accusations, etc. Wazel Shosek, in this case, he's quiet. Afal PK, still, ain't a rayel hafshadabe emes, kumashubayana kol lamala. You can't use this as a proof, as we mentioned before. If I remember correctly, before he said, because maybe at this point the person understands that no one's going to believe him anyways, and therefore he's not responding, or he's choosing maybe to work on his midas now, and he's not responding. In any case, it's not a proof. And this is even true if per the Marago story, He's not over on rechilas. Going to misapole sheyishma atzmai pointing. He's saying the rechilas l'toyelas. So if so, if it's right, then he's not being over the love, right? Because if it's for tails, he's allowed to say it. Going to misapole sheyishma atzmai pointing, like he's telling someone, be careful from Ruvain, because Ruvain wants to hurt you. Come on, as we'll explain later. But even there, you're not allowed to believe it. Certainly, if he's saying outright Rechilas, it's not Latayelis. Certainly, you're not allowed to believe him. We've already shown from earlier poskim the lashon hara is also bein b'fanav, bein shloi b'fanav. You're not allowed to say these things whether it's in front of the person or not. I feel dvar emes. Vim kained. If so, if you're not allowed to do it, hafim call emes kedrav. Even if it's all true as he's saying, people love plenty. The women, in fact, did say such a shots about Levi. Afabikain who Rasha Gomer. PC Purabatzmai. The person saying this quote unquote truth is a Rasha based on his own story because he is saying Rechilas. So overall, lav the loiselach rachaba mechav v'loisis Hashem hashav v'shal lavin v'esan u'varam le'ovam psich and all the other lavin in esin. V'im kain and if so, nei Rasha zeh based on this Rasha statement, noitzi liidach mecheskes kashrusai, will we take this other person out of his cheskes kashas v'loimar and say sha'avar isa lashon hara kiyetza b'zeh b'vari achoshet alav derichis v'lashon hara. Certainly, someone who's suspect on the transgressing these lavin, poshed gamkein the shaker. He's certainly poshed to lie with the host of dvarim and to exaggerate with the hachal b'sefer asay and change the story from the beginning to the end, and therefore one is not allowed to be makabel what he's saying, even if he said it publicly, even if he said it in front of. Okay, let's go. Let us go. Shmiras haLashon. Let's go to Shmiras haLashon. Excuse me. Well, Sharatuna. Perik Ches. So he is discussing here the midah of savlanus. Savlanus being, as he described before, someone who doesn't respond when someone embarrasses him, doesn't hold a grudge, accepts it be'ava. Oh, kiyiritza adam l'stabek b'midah zu shel savlanus al yud gimel teves. If someone, again, sharatuna perik hes, what's listed as Yud Gimel Teves. When a person wants to be mistabik in this midah of savlonis, yisbayin tamer beguf einish havoinish begehenim or gilgul. Be misponen, give thought constantly to the punishment that one gets for Averis in Gehenim and in Gilgul, Kmosham Chazal. As the Gemara says, Bevrei be'emek habocha, parentheses, O Gehenim, Ma'ayon Yishisu. The what? What does that mean? Shemovidin demois kanachal shoshisin. They cry like a river. I don't know what nachal shisin is. V'yadua. Time here. It's coming out pretty strong. The Eshel Modar Echad Shebegehenim, that the fire in one level of Gehenim is Shishim Pa'am Yosem Eshel Lano, is 60 times hotter than the fire in this world. The Shamodar Beis on the second level, Shishim Pa'am Modar Aleph, is 60 times the fire that's in the first level. Every level, it's 60 times the one before, 60 times the one before. The Ramban already wrote also. The one time period in Gehenna is worse than all the suffering that Yov went through all of his life. Begam Yadua, we know the Einish Hal Gilgul, that punishment, Gilgul Neshamis of incarnation. Ukoshi Yosem Einish Gehenna is even worse than the punishment of Gehenna. Al Kain. And therefore, Adam of Tamid, the person looks at his actions regularly, and you realize that you also did Averis, and you're going to also have punishment. So certainly you'll accept upon yourself out of joy, Hamidazu, this middle Savlam, to have patience, not to react when someone says something to you, right? Be forgiving, Tomid. That this would take the place of all those terrible punishments. So when you realize that this is the key to be saved from such difficult punishments in the future, it empowers you not to respond when someone embarrasses, when someone does something to you. You're able to look away because you realize what you're gaining with that midah. When I hear all those who are degrading me and knocking me in public, when I hear that, I place in front of me the scales. On one scale, I put all the things I've done wrong. And on the second one, I put how I put all this embarrassment that I'm going through. And I take a look, mata. See that the side in the scale of the hashamis of the wrongdoing is going down. It's heavier. The eshlik, the atzdik is dini, and therefore I'm quiet and I accept the din. Okay, and that's the chomine tzar b'dibur b'maisa. And so too, whenever I have any tsar, whether it's a tsar of speech or action, I picture. And then, like the Chavos Chaim is saying, by not responding and by accepting the din, that outweighs the punishment. We see it's easy for a person to accept any type of bizyonis, disgrace. If by doing that, you'll protect yourself from losing your possessions, keep going, for example, base has Sreifa, Sharitza, or Sopan. You do all kinds of things, even if it's embarrassing and it's not the Fikoitcha, but to save, I guess, your things from a fire or other tsars. He says, so if you know that you'll be freed from tremendous physical suffering, so it shouldn't be hard to acquire this midah of savlanos. Let's see what the next is. Let's do one more because it's flow. Let us explain our words. Even if they wouldn't forgive you, it had said before, the Gemara had said before,
So, phones over here. Yes. So I don't think she's looking at the group, but
I said before that when a person has Yisurim, his Averis are forgiven. So when a person realizes, it said that yesterday, a person realizes how much he benefits from Yisurim. Yeah, it brings him close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and stuff. Then he accepts it ba'ava. And therefore, that's what he's saying here. He's saying, I feel I feel He says, even if they wouldn't bring forgiveness for you, even on one Avera, Rak Lahaka Onsha, it would just make the einish less. Gam can kedai. And now it also kedai from, as we've described, the tremendous einish there is. Certainly, if by doing so, the Yisurim you have, the disgrace you have, the bizarreness you have, does bring a total mechila on one Avera. And even more so, that by going through this, you're forgiven for all your Averas. I feel like in a crime b'shem pesha, even those Averas that are called pesha. Pesha is when you're like revolting against Hashem. Just you need to be careful not to do them anymore. But if you're coming so not to do them anymore, Yisurim cleanse it all. And Bizyonis cleanse it all. Gemara. If you look away and you're forgiving, Mavir Loya Kol Prishav. The Gemara specifies Prishav. They are Mavir and your Pshayim, Shenema, Noise Oven, Vaival Pesha. And we darshan the Mi Noise Oven, the Misha Ival Pesha. So if you're forgiving, even when someone outright wrongs you, then Mishamayim, they forgive you. But someone who wants that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should forgive him even on his Pshayim, so you have to be careful that you're not makbid. I feel that been married. Even if you know that someone willingly, knowingly did something against you, as the Gemara says, what is Pshayim? Elo and Merodin. Who shediku, and this is the diak, the mino isa'ovay, to who does HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgive the aver, the misha oiva al pesha, that you're forgiving even on a pesha, someone outright, knowingly hurt you, disgraced you, said something about you, and you're forgiving, that is what brings you that Hashem will forgive you. Why does it say noisa oven, that Hashem is noisa oven, not pesha? Oven is a lesser of an avera. The reason why it says noisa oven, Hashem say to me, to kokosher, because that's the order of the midas of Hashem. Noisa oven, negam oival pesha. But in fact, the Gemara learns that if you're oival pesha, they forgive all your averas, also your pshayim. And therefore, if you want to acquire the midah of savlonis, which is that I'm accepting of my embarrassing, sort of like I'm a vat. I look away when people hurt me. If you keep in mind the tremendous gain there is and benefit there is from not responding and from forgiving, it becomes so much easier. Okay, Mitzvah Hashem will continue tomorrow.